Hey, Stella. I was just going to give everybody a minute. So even though it says 6, usually people show up around 6:03. So just hang tight and we'll get started in a minute. All right. Okay. Hello, Carrie. We're going to get started in a minute. So just hang tight. We'll give everybody till 6:03. So everybody has a minute. Hey, Allie. Okay, good. All right. People are starting to log in now. So, okay, good. So, hello, everybody. We're going to get started. So first, just so you know, we have a mixture here of people who are currently patients and who are considering becoming patients. So just be a little bit tolerant of some of the things I'm going to repeat for current patients. You're going to, it's things you should hear again and again anyway. Just a good reminder of maybe what you forgot, and then also just helping to encourage not only you, but also the newcomers to the group. So I think it'll be a great thing for all. And this masterclass series is going to build on each other. So it's going to be 12 consecutive weeks, and we're going to kind of find like a nice pause point in between each module. And then that way, if anything came up in between, if you texted, email, there was something you wanted me to discuss more of, and or there was something you wanted to make sure was addressed at the next module, we're going to make sure that we fill in the gaps as well. So there's plenty of time. We have an agenda of everything I do want to cover, with a little bit of flexibility to make sure everyone gets a personalized experience, even though it's being done as a group, and getting the information that they need. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and I'm going to go back into some things that a lot of you are aware of. And it's more based on making sure we're all on the same page. Because interesting, every year I'm in practice, every year is different than the year before, as far as what the definitions of certain words mean, what's popular, what's socially acceptable, let's say. And we're going to redefine again here for 2024 what is holistic and functional medicine? Because interestingly, it's actually changed based on the feedback and the questions we're getting asked this year that we never got asked before. It's like, something must be changing out there. So we're going to address that first and foremost. So the biggest thing is that obviously we're trying to get out of or not enter into the medical model. And we're not here to bash the medical establishment, but we're here to clarify what is the difference. And because what's occurring now is functional medicine is a really hot topic, and a lot of traditional medical doctors are getting into functional medicine, which I can't think with because the whole idea behind functional medicine is not to do traditional medicine. So I don't exactly know what these people are doing in their practice, but what it is doing is creating a lot more confusion and upset for our newer patients or people who want to be patients because they're getting mixed information when they call different practices. So I want to talk about what I do, and hopefully if you are a patient, why you and I are working together, and to make sure we can distinguish when you do one versus the other. So my viewpoint is my personal opinion. It doesn't necessarily have to be your personal opinion, but why I do what I do and have been doing for decades now is my ultimate goal is to do everything as naturally and as conservatively as possible. And when we can do that, great. And when we can't, that's actually fine too. And we just make some negotiations. But if we can prevent any need for medication ever, or we can do it naturally with a supplement or a dietary change, et cetera, that's always my goal. And then the definition of holistic in its purest form is exactly that. You want to do it as holistically and naturally in keeping with the body by design, utilizing to your advantage its own innate intelligence to get the job done. And because of the medical model influence, and then also, unfortunately, because of social media, this line is getting very blurred. And there's a lot of online, as you know, is social media experts and or influencers that are doing nutrition, but under a medical template, meaning like, oh, you have headaches, take this, or oh, you have hot flash, buy my blankety blank, whatever, blanket, supplement, lotion, potion, whatever the case may be. And in true functional medicine and holistic medicine, you know, it's not that straightforward. And I don't want to make this subject any more complex than it needs to be, but unfortunately, it is complex because the body is complex. I'm always being told by business advisors and social media experts, they're like, Dr. Lurie, you need to keep it a lot more simple. And the honest truth of it is, I'm not exactly sure how. So I always achieve that to the best of my ability and try to do it. But what we're going to be talking about here is why that's a little bit difficult, so that you know what you're trying to achieve within the world of functional medicine and what the holistic approach is, and making sure that's what you're looking for, and then also ensuring that that's what you get. So what we're going to be doing as part of the presentation also is we're going to be using a book that all of my current patients have read, and I highly encourage you to read again. And I have a picture of it and I'll show you. So it's called Back to the Basics of Human Health. And so I'll put that up on the screen for you to see. So if you have that book, you want to go dig it out of the closet, wherever it is. And if you don't, then definitely you want to go in the chat in just a moment. I'm going to put the link to go purchase it. So let me just get a little bit bigger of a picture there. So it's called Back to the Basics of Human Health, and my patients get it as a courtesy from me for free, from Dr. Puskar as being a patient. But it actually was written by a very good friend of mine, Mary Frost. And the wonderful thing about this book is that it's over 30 years old, but true health and true information never gets old. So, for example, we have created such major impacts and exploration as far as science and finding out about black holes and other universes. So technology in the world of science is ever expanding, and we're getting more and more brilliant and getting more information every day. That being said, regardless of actually how much we know about other universes, it doesn't change the fact that gravity still exists, and that when you throw a ball off the side of the building, it's still going to hit the ground. So what we're making the mistake of is thinking that new means all the old goes away. But if that was a fundamental truth, that still remains. And that's a lot of what we're seeing in the health industry is everybody's grabbing onto the shiny new object and or the latest fad, and forgetting about the fundamentals, just like gravity. So there are things about a body that are always true, have always been true, will always be true. And regardless of the latest fad diet or the latest nutritional product or anything you can read or learn on any of the social media websites and or any research you can do on your own, they're still in keeping with the laws of gravity. And so what we're going to be getting into here are the laws of the body and the laws of nutrition. And we're going to be using that book, Back to the Basics of Human Health, to be one of the reference materials. So each week we get together, we're going to be reading a few pages. So this week I'll read the few of you because some of you don't have the book. But I would highly encourage you to get that before next time so you can read ahead. We'll probably do, depending on 5 to 7 pages. It's an 80-page book. We should be able to get through it because I'm only going to paraphrase it. I'm not going to literally read the book to you. But you have that as a resource and you can read ahead. So then you can even have your questions prepared and have an idea of some of the things we might be discussing for the upcoming classes. So it's only part of the master class, but it's definitely one of the key parts. So we're going to read from the book in just a little bit. What I do want to do is continue on and give you a full understanding of this functional medicine. So what I'm going to do is share with you now is a write-up that I've created on what is functional medicine and what you can expect. And also for anyone who's not yet a patient and you're still shopping, let's say, the questions you're going to ask either of myself and or possibly who you might be working with and when you're doing your shopping around. And what it says here is, what is functional medicine? So as I said, it's a new and cutting edge approach. And the great thing about it, where it does differ, is that it's an individualized and patient-centered approach, which is fantastic because you're looking at getting more down to the patient's individual needs. So when you're calling around and looking for a functional medicine doctor, if you call and you say, how long is your program and how much it's going to cost, and they actually answer that, they're not doing functional medicine. They're doing what I call cookie cutter nutrition disguised as functional medicine in a medical facility. Because once you see and understand a little bit more about how a body works, which we are going to be covering, is those two questions cannot be answered right out of the gate. So we're going to be talking about why that's true and how that's true so you have a better understanding. But if someone says, oh, yeah, it's going to be a year and $3,000 right there, no, you're not getting a personalized patient-centered approach, because if you were, you would need to know some specifics about that individual before proceeding. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. One of the key things for me and my entire practice, and for those of you who work with me and those of you who don't, just so you get to know me, my hidden agenda, let's say, is always about empowering you. So my approach, and people tease me, I think my ultimate goal is to put myself out of business. So much like with a child, what you want to do is raise the child so that they can leave the nest and go out and survive on their own for the most part without you. So that's actually the relationship I would prefer and desire with my patients, that I've trained you so well, you take care of your body for the most part, and then you only bring it in, quote, for service, like you would your car a few times a year, or when you call home to mom because it was something that either she taught you that you forgot and didn't get all the details, or maybe it was just something, some little nuance she never shared with you. And that's really what we're going for when we're talking about optimum health and the end goal of your wellness journey. And the key thing here, as you see in big and bold, it's about getting at the root causes and not just treating symptoms. So that's the problem with the medical model trying to do functional medicine and holistic care, is that you don't just go and instead of giving a prescription painkiller for the migraine, you don't just start telling the patient to take magnesium. That's medically prescribed nutrition, and that's still medical. That's still not getting at root causes. That's not finding out why the body created the headache in the first place. That doesn't get at looking, is this a thyroid dysfunction? Is this a toxic liver? Is this a gut flora issue? And getting at, again, the real root cause of why the headache occurs in the first place. And ultimately, it's about making the patient responsible as opposed to the doctor. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to yell at you or blame you or anything, but over time, the responsibility for you and your health should be more on your shoulders than it is mine. So I will, of course, keep you going, but the whole idea is to transition all my knowledge and brilliance to the best of my ability over the protocol and the program time to get all of this information where it belongs, over on your side. And the reason this is also important, and when, like I had said, if you call in offices and they can quote you a price like right over the phone, this is what they're not doing, because this is how I'm going to answer those questions. It requires a detailed understanding of your genetics, your predispositions, your risks, your current biochemical levels, and not just that basic blood work that your doctor runs every time. So That's not even what we're talking about. We'll get into that in just a minute. Your nutritional status, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, gut flora, general deficiencies, and how every single organ and system is functioning versus not functioning. And this is how we really get at the root causes of what's going on with your health situations. I like to call it more like a calculus equation or an algorithm. So this whole simple math of how long and how much, and they can, the front desk girl can answer that within 30 seconds of your phone call. That's not taking functional medicine and this holistic approach really into consideration, because all of the above is really what it takes to get those answered. And then from this information, then we create a personalized natural health improvement program. And a true functional medicine program, like I said before, will be as natural as possible. We'll try not to do medications. We'll try not to do anything medical unless we absolutely have to. So we're going to be working with vitamins and herbs and nutrition. We're going to be using homeopathic principles and naturopathic principles. And we're going to be doing this all simultaneously along with a personalized plan that provides the patient with a correct natural health education. So it's a personalized education program, diet and food plan, exercise routine, and lifestyle habits. So this truly is, in my opinion, what functional medicine is. And that's what we're looking at achieving. So that's what I have in mind for you. So we'll get to this picture in just a little bit. So just to drive that home a little bit more, what we're looking at here is I like to consider myself more of a general contractor than a doctor, let's say, in that if you wanted to design your dream kitchen or you wanted to put a Florida room on the back part of your home, you can't just call up the contractor and say, hey, I want to put a Florida room on my house. And so how much and how long is it going to take you to build that and how much will it cost? What is he going to say? He's going to be like, I don't know. I need to come to your home, do some measurements, get the end goal and what does your dream kitchen or your dream room look like. And once that contractor has all that information, he will make a very specific proposal on what it's going to take, how long it's going to take, and what it's going to cost. So that's what we're going to be doing when we talk about your nutritional deficiencies, doing the biochemical lab testing, taking a look at your genetics and seeing how all of those pieces play in part to coming up with the perfect personalized natural health improvement program for you. So you have a taste of what this really means. We're going to go and take a look at what you look like. And so let me get that up here. And this is how you're going to understand what you and I are up against and what it's really going to take. So here is a beautiful chart that basically is what you look like on the inside. Now, we can't open you up and look inside, but if we could, this is what you look like all the way down to the cellular level. And on this page here, what you see is a lot of purple ovals, and these are all of your key genes, and they're strategically placed on this gene or on this chart where they have their function. So as you can see, there's genes in certain places that have certain components. They have an effect, both positive and negative, on particular substances that you see on the chart. So this is kind of like your body's highway map, and all of these purple ovals are the main exits on the highway. And key biochemical functions happen at each one of these areas that you see on the chart. Then what you also see is a lot of gray arrows, and a lot of these things that your body does in a day are like cyclical. They happen in a cycle. So there you see them in a circle there, and they have a direct and positive and negative and direct and indirect arrow going to the other words above, left, down, and right of it. And so the upper left part of this chart has to do with allergies, and the bottom left part of the chart has to do with your energy cycle. And if you move over a little bit, we do kidney detox, and then we do liver detox, and we do your body's ability to create and utilize the B vitamins. And then the one that everybody always wants to talk about, know more about, and this is the bottom right-hand corner, you see in a little red box there, a red outline box, it's estrogen. So much of what everybody's worried or concerned about is it my hormones? And though yes can be partially the answer, as you can see, it's only part of the story. We need to see what nutritional levels are too high or too low in regards to not only the estrogen pathway, but the rest of this entire chart. We need to know what biochemical levels of substances, toxins, cholesterol, hormone precursors, are they too high or are they too low? Because this whole chart is more like a domino effect that literally any one DNA gene set or any one biochemical pathway or any one word on this chart can actually be the quote root cause to your health situations, the root cause to your hormonal imbalances. The mistake the medical model makes is they look only right there, right by the word estrogen, and they assume it has to be the problem right where the word is created. But now that you're getting a better understanding of how the body works, its intricate details, and why this is an algorithm, the estrogen dominance or estrogen deficiency may or may not, at root cause, have anything to do with estrogen at all. It could be due to something way over in the upper left corner of the chart. Maybe you're having a chronic histamine reaction that is just shutting down and blocking pathways all the way from the left-hand side of the chart all the way down to the bottom right. And that until we handle your allergy, your immune system, your histamine response, you will never see an improvement in your estrogen or hormonal levels. So what we're looking at here is getting at the true root causes and how each thing interplays off of the other thing. So one thing, and now that you get an appreciation of this calculus equation and this algorithm I'm talking about, we have to plug in all of this information. And then on the other side of the equal side, now I can tell you how long and how much, and then also what are we going to be handling once we have all this information. So one of the key things in true holistic and functional medicine that you're looking at is adopting the viewpoint that literally anything can cause anything. And the exact opposite is true in the medical model, where they want the one thing to cause the one thing, therefore we treat the one thing. And as you can see, it couldn't be further from the truth. That's why we're talking about individualized, personalized programs that basically take everything we can know about you into consideration in order to create the perfect program. So I know everybody now, when I talk about the hormones, you're like, ooh, hormones. So yes, we'll talk a little bit more about the hormones now. So let's go there. So if that particular chart that I just showed you wasn't overwhelming and enough already, this is what your hormone pathways actually look like. There are approximately 50 different precursors and biochemical substances and steps prior to the estrogen becoming actual estrogen and the progesterone becoming actual progesterone. You could have an imbalance where you have too much or too little of any one of these substances that are the precursor materials to making estrogen, to making progesterone, to making the testosterone. And if you see in the upper left-hand corner of this chart, it all starts with cholesterol. So if you're not metabolizing cholesterol correctly, the whole chart falls apart. So when you're looking at your cholesterol levels, or your doctor's yelling at you that your cholesterol is too high, or that there's something metabolically wrong, or whatever the case may be, you're looking at that could be either incomplete, totality, the root cause of your hormonal support problem, and or a portion or a little bit of both. So what we need to do is really get an appreciate and understanding how complex the whole hormone pathway is. The last part of this is that this is just the estrogen and progesterone and a few of the other hormones, by the way. And the truth of the matter is that the woman's body actually has over 50 different hormones. So to try and pinpoint and blame these 3 or 4 that you might actually see on this chart, you're missing, again, at least 80 to 90% of the true story. So holistic medicine takes all hormones taken into consideration simultaneously. And when I say balancing hormones, I'm not just talking about estrogen and progesterone. I'm talking about the other 48 simultaneously being handled with these hormone pathways. So this is really what it's going to take to handle all of your hormones. And as I said, from a, let's go here, good. From a body standpoint, now that we have all of these cells, now what we can do is address the individual organs. And then you can see here that some of the organs technically in the gray are more important than the other, but they're really all important. And you see both dotted and solid lines here that indicate that there's both direct, indirect, and positive and negative relationships between each of these organs. So you can see that any organ can be the root cause of anything going on in the ovaries or uterus. It could be coming from the thyroid, from the pancreas, from the small intestine, from the adrenal glands. A toxic liver will create hormonal imbalances. So when you really get an understanding of what it takes to figure you out, when you call any functional medicine doctor and say how much and how long, they better say, I don't know. So that should give you a little bit of appreciation there. So let's talk a little bit more about the body in general here. And what I want to share with you now is some insights on just the body so you get a full appreciation of this. So now that you see what we have to do is we got to handle you all the way down to the cellular level. Just so you have an understanding, you have approximately 30 trillion cells in there that we need to handle. So when you're also taking a look at this from a time component, it's going to take some time to handle 30 trillion cells. We have to get your body either to kill off those cells and put new ones there and or fix the ones that are there. So let's talk about the time constraints or what this looks like. So let's say, for example, picture yourself being in a warehouse, and it's an empty warehouse, a big empty warehouse, and there you are. And then the Department of Treasury drives up, and there's a whole bunch of trucks that come, and they are like, okay, so what your job is going to be is in these trucks, we have 30 trillion $1 bills. And what you're going to do, your job is to now take a dollar bill one at a time and put them in a pile into the warehouse. So take them out of the truck. So you do a dollar, a dollar, a dollar. This is your new job. So let's say your efficiency rate is you're doing $1 per second. So a second goes by, you do a dollar. Another second go by, you do another dollar. So your rate of production is, a dollar per second. At that rate, if you were putting down a dollar per second, it would take you over 900,000 years to fill that warehouse with with the $30 trillion. So when people come to me and they're saying, how many weeks before I'm going to see improvement? I was like, you do realize I'm trying to handle, even if I handled one cell every second, in that algorithmic calculation, it would take me 900,000 years to get you well. So the good news is that a lot of these body parts cooperate simultaneously and you don't have to do it. So the biggest mistake I see people making from a timeline is they're comparing functional medicine to traditional medicine in that they're expecting me to say weeks. So when I say that most likely what we're looking at for most health situations, that the damage that has been done, the nutritional deficiencies, refilling, replacing, rehabilitating, and rebuilding, when I say a year, they get very upset. But that's because I'm being compared to the medical model where if you're in the emergency room, you can get a result in seconds, which is fair because we're trying to keep you alive. But it's very unfair when you're talking about root causes and general and the healing and rebuilding down to the cellular level. So I need to, not literally, but it needs to be compared to more than 900,000 years that I'm going to do it in only a year, as opposed to I've been working you for six weeks. Why aren't all my symptoms gone? It's like you're comparing it to the wrong side of the model. The other thing that I want to use as an example is when you're taking a look at what it's going to take to achieve all this improvement is, it's a silly example, but it works, is let's say you have some noisy children in the other room. So when the medical model, your choice is, or what they usually do is just let the noise continue and they just shut the door. And that's how drugs work. They don't actually fix or heal or handle everything. It's just like shutting the door and walking away and letting the kids continue to scream and get into trouble behind the closed door. You haven't done a thing except for just you're like this and you can't hear it anymore. And that's all your medications are doing. Hormones included, all of it. It's just telling your body to shut up, just like you're shutting the door and walking away. Now, that is a solution, but that's not getting at root causes. That's not restoring any bodily function. And that definitely is not to your detriment until finally you hear bloody murder screams coming from the room with the children. And now you have to go do something about it because you have ignored it for so long. The idea is go into the room and talk to each one of the children and find out what's really going on and what the true upset is and come up with a solution, even if it's several different solutions for all the children in the room to get everybody quiet and happy and playing nicely again. But as you can see, that takes a lot more work than just shutting the door and walking away. So of course we're all tempted to do that on occasion. But the correct thing to do is order to go into the room and find out the root cause of the upset with the children and handle it. And then you can have hours and hours of playtime and then you don't have any further upsets. So silly example, but it really works in an understanding of what we're trying to do from a body standpoint. And what we need to appreciate and be patient with is we have, 30 trillion children in there that we're trying to get everybody handled and quiet. And your body can only handle so many things so quickly. And the other key thing is it has to do it in its priority order. So that's the trick of it as well, is we cannot do it based on symptoms. So a big one would be is if you want to instantaneously handle your fatigue and you're like, I don't care about all my other symptoms. I need the fatigue to go away first. I'm like, I can't make you that guarantee, because what if, and this is the brilliance of functional medicine, and this isn't to scare any of you, what if you are also brewing the beginnings of a tumor in your breast? And you're worried about the fatigue, and the body keeps telling me you don't get to handle the fatigue, Dr. Lori. The lab test, the body examination, the case history from the patient is telling me you have to go do detox, or you have to go support body tissues, or you have to do something else, and it's not handling the fatigue. If you don't trust the innate intelligence of the body and you just try and treat the symptom, you could be missing the bigger picture, and that woman eventually would get the true diagnosis of what really probably was the root cause to her fatigue in the first place. So what it is it's basically it's a paradigm shift. It's a mindset. That's why we spend so much time with our new patients, is getting why you want to be a patient in the first place. What are your health goals, and getting you in the correct mindset. Because if this is about symptomatic relief, you're never going to make it, because as you can see, there are so many complexities that need to be taken into consideration. But once we have all the information and we know what it is, it becomes quite simple. And then that's where your path, the program, and the roadmap gets laid out, and it's not so complex or overwhelming. But until we have that information, you're looking at quite a complex situation that needs to be handled in a lot more detail than possibly you have been giving yourself time, giving me time, possibly any other practitioner you're working with. Is that we don't need to or want this to take any longer than it needs to take. But now that you have a better understanding and appreciation of what we're trying to achieve, you can see there is a time factor that goes along with getting to the root causes and establishing and creating the most perfect personalized program for you to help you achieve and get to all of your end goals. So what we're going to do now, because I told you I want to do a little bit with the book and how this ties in, is I'm going to read the first few pages, not line by line, like I said, but it's the key concepts, as I'm sure while you're listening in here today, of what you're trying to achieve. So the wonderful thing about this book is it totally validates your suspicion and or your upset, but then also provides the pathway out. So in the book here, what we're looking at, and I'm sure many of you here today are going to be loving this, it says, in an attempt to protect ourselves and our families from frightening and serious health problems, many Americans, we women, are changing their diets and are taking herbs and supplements. So great, not a bad thing. We pump vitamins and we eat right. Now let's just stop there, because this is a key thing as well. Eat right. What is the definition of eating right? Or one of the biggest things I have is when a new patient calls in and they're like, hi, Dr. Lori, so I have some health situations. First, I want to tell you I eat pretty healthy, but, and then they go on and list all the health situations they have. And again, not in a validating way, but do you see the oxymoron there? Is you can't have health situations if you are actually eating healthy. The problem is that the definition of healthy is gotten manipulated completely over the centuries. So it would be like me taking my car to the mechanic and telling him, I was like, okay, so my car is running quite well and it's pretty, it's functioning. However, and the mechanic's like, if it's working well, then why are you here? It can't be both happening at the same time. So if your car's working, it's working. And if it's not working, it's not working. You can't say, well, it's working, but because therefore it's not working. So what regardless if you know the true solution or cause of the situation, if you believe if you're eating healthy and you still have health situations, I can tell you by the true definition of health, you're not eating healthy. And what it actually comes down to is that you're not eating correctly for you. And that's where the mistake of the medical model and all of these social media influencers is they're trying to make it broad that every woman over 35 needs blank, and every woman who's doing this should be doing this, and every woman needs to do this amount of water or take this amount of steps per day. There is no every woman. That's medical think. In functional medicine, holistic medicine, it's actually down to the individual. Is what do you need? How much water do you need to drink? Do you even need to take any steps per day? Maybe that's not even the correct exercise routine for you. So going back, if you are having health situations and you think you're eating healthy, what I can tell you is you might be eating healthy for someone, but you're not eating healthy for you. So it comes down to isolating out what is true health for you and your body. And in keeping with that is just picture on a chart approximately, now this is not exact, but this will give you a good appreciation of what's happening and why this is occurring, is as a woman, and not so much men, but women specifically, is you are pretty much a different person about every 10 years. So from birth to death, you're a different person at age 10, then 20, then 30, then 40. This also should give you peace of mind and help you understand why whatever you're doing or trying now, even if it is, quote, trying to be healthy or eating healthy, you're eating the healthy diet of you from 15 years ago, which unfortunately is no longer the, quote, healthy diet for you now at the age of 35, 45, 55. So this is why I love and why my practice is all about women. Not that I hate men or children or anything, but I focus on the woman because nobody understands her. Nobody knows what she's going through. The medical doctors are completely perplexed by you. And your grandmother didn't tell you, and your mother didn't tell you. And even if they didn't tell you the whole story or give you enough information to actually get through because they were as perplexed when they went through. They're like, I don't know, I just figured it out, or I was just miserable and took painkillers for 20 years, or I don't know, I went to the doctor and I just had my ovaries and uterus removed. I'm like, well, how does that help me? So this is what we're looking at. So what we have to do is find out what's right for you at every decade of life. And it should help explain why your killer exercise routine and your diet that you used to do at 30 is not working for you at 40, 45 is because you're eating incorrectly for you. So part of the algorithm and calculus equation we have to figure out is not only all the things we already talked about, but which decade of life are you in? Now, it's not literally exactly 10 years, but just give or take so you can understand how the chart and your body works. So whatever you were doing at 25 is definitely not the healthy habits or diet or lifestyle or meal plan you should be following at 75 or 65 or whatever the case may be. So this eating right and eating healthy thing, just throw it out the window because there is no such thing. So this is why it says here, everybody's supposedly eating right, yet good health continues to elude us. And now you understand a little bit more why. So more Americans than ever before are fatigued, overweight, and depressed. Nearly every week, Americans receive at least 2 or 3 mailers, social media posts, whatever the case may be, touting one new medical breakthrough, one after the other, on here's the cure for this, how to lose weight fast, all of it. You see it all the time. I'm getting the same emails. I follow the same people on social media that you do, so I see exactly what you're seeing. So what's wrong with this? So when people are trying so hard to do the right thing, why aren't the results long term? So why do they feel so great when they start taking these vitamins, if you have tried in the past, and then later feel fatigued again? Why are 95% of the people who lose weight unable to keep it off? Why are our national health statistics becoming alarming? So part of it is due to the mysteries that makes you a woman. And then there's 3 key things that it discusses in the book that we're going to get into in the next masterclass, but I do want to give them for you here today. So the first one is the harm that has been done to our foods before it even gets to our table or our mouths or whatever, and the depletion of the nutritional sources, which we'll talk about in just a minute. The second thing is taking synthetic vitamins as supplementation as opposed to whole food and true vitamin substances. So we're going to be talking a whole master class, or a good portion of a master class is going to be on that subject alone. So what are synthetic supplements? Why are they so detrimental? And how come I'm so against them? Is there's a justification and a rationale for it. And the easiest one to just tell you is they don't allow you to get at the root cause. Basically, all they are is medicine in disguise. It's a nutraceutical approach to a medical situation. So you don't just switch from taking over-the-counter painkillers for migraines and then switch to magnesium that you bought at Walmart or GNC and then try and handle your headaches. All you're doing is switching one poison for the next. It's just a safer version of the poison, but you haven't gotten at the root cause of the headaches. You haven't rebalanced any of your hormones. You really haven't done anything to the system. So we'll talk specifically about that and what it really means in another masterclass. And then the last one here is the wrong diet. So whether that's vegetarian or keto or low fat or low protein or high protein or no protein or whatever the case may be, The problem is all of these fad diets are just that. They're fads. That's why it's called a fad diet. So it's somebody's bright idea or brilliance on how to make money off of something that they figured out and they can package and sell to you. It has nothing to do with you as an individual. So that's again going against exactly the holistic and functional medicine principle, is that if it's a cookie cutter diet or cookie cutter protocol of any kind, you know it's not the true holistic approach. So what we're going to be talking about, again, in another masterclass in detail, is how to help discover what is the correct diet for you. Do I need more fat or less fat or whatever the case may be? But this whole industry got started and became a problem as early back in the early 1920s. So it's basically 100 years of us being lied to. So your great grandmother was lied to, your grandmother was lied to, your mother was lied to, and now you are trying to apply the quote nutritional principles, the healthy eating habits of a generation several before you that have been lied to over and over again on what it is to be healthy and what is the correct diet. So this is a key component to what's in the way. So just to give you some statistics here. So foods aren't what they once were. Despite their appearance, they look pretty in the store. But today's fresh produce, for example, is far less nutritious than ever before. So just as an example here, in order to get the iron that you used to be able to get out of 1 cup of spinach around 1945, in order to get that same amount of iron, you would now today have to eat at least 65 cups of spinach. Now, who's going to do that in a day? I'm not. I do this for a living and I'm not doing 65 cups of spinach. So what you're going to have to figure out is what occurred, why, how to get the equivalent of the 65 cups of spinach without actually having to do it. Another example is the orange. An orange used to contain 50 milligrams of the natural vitamin C complex. We're not even talking about that vitamin C that you can get in the store, 1,000 milligrams for $5.99. That's not even the real vitamin C. We'll talk about that. But the real genuine vitamin C complex in 1950 was, it had 50 milligrams in 1950, has about 5 milligrams or even less probably than 5 milligrams. So you'd have to eat 10 times of the amount just to get that same nutritional value. So how could you possibly eat that much food in the day? How could you possibly ever get there? Because there are so many deficiencies and deficits in the food sources that you probably wouldn't be able to do it even if you tried. So we're going to talk about, and not today, but where the problem came from. I want to give that to you, so you're not in complete mystery. Is that it came from 3 main sources or causes. It's a depletion of the topsoil in this country. That's where the vitamins and minerals are in the first 2 feet of the soil. It came from deforestation, meaning taking down our trees, and incorrect farming methods. That was a big one as well. And then not only in the book, it says here, overuse of fungicides and pesticides, but overuse of all of those universally in our foods, and then also all of the chemicals and preservatives they're now putting in our food. So it's even worse now than it was when this book was written, the amount of poisons and chemicals. So not only is there no nutrition in there, that would be bad enough. So I'd rather just eat some spinach that only had, like, take 2 milligrams of iron. But on top of that, the spinach also has fungicides and pesticides and has, chemicals, and they put in green dye and they buff it with wax and other things to make it look shiny and green, and that's actually not the true spinach. So these are the things we're going to be looking at in detail about what's really going on with our health. So I hope that it helps you understand a little bit more about what's going on and what you're running into, and then also what can be done about it. So it really is a personal journey that's going to be one that you're going to have to go on in a very positive way, basically alone, but with me on your side, as to what we're going to be looking at, what it's truly going to take to balance your hormones, what the perfect diet looks like for you, what the perfect nutritional protocol looks for you, and taking a look at all of the myths and possible lies that you have been told about what's really going on with your health. So just to give you an example of this is, this is going to be politically incorrect nutrition. That's why this is a live stream and it's not recorded. Because some of the things I'm going to say might get myself into trouble, but that's the whole point behind doing this masterclass. What you're looking at here is, just so you know, is why is the medical model not thinking like this? Is because they have a different goal than you do. So let's just use the hospital as an example. So a hospital, its main goal or agenda is basically to make money. And how they make money is by having all of those hospital beds full. So if those hospital beds aren't full, they're empty. And if they're empty, they're not making money. And if they're not making money, that hospital is going to get closed down. So everybody's always asking me, why don't they talk about or do more wellness and nutrition and tell me about their diet? Is because they can't fill a hospital bed if you're healthy. So you have a much different goal in mind. I have a much different goal in mind than that, more in keeping with yours. So ours is true root causes, health and wellness and optimal health. That's where we want to go. Theirs is the exact opposite. So it also explains, and we're not going to get into in detail, the functional medicine lab tests and some of the things we covered. They're not covered by insurance because they're going to be deemed not medically necessary. And you know what? They're right. They're not medically necessary because we're not trying to achieve this from a medical viewpoint. We're trying to find the root cause and prevent it from becoming a medical situation. So literally the lab tests that I talk about, and there's many more, is they go to the same exact building as all of the other lab tests do. It's not like mine go one place and now everyone goes the other. It's just not literally, but if you can picture, the medical lab tests go to the insurance side of the building and my lab tests go to the non-insurance side of the building. And the reason for that is on the insurance side of the building, they're only going to run those same 100 tests or so. That's why you keep having those same tests done over and over again. And they keep telling you there's nothing wrong with you or nothing they can do for you, is because they're only doing the same test over and over. They actually either they don't know or they don't remember or whatever the case may be. There's tens of thousands of lab tests you can run, but they won't be covered by insurance, so they won't run them. And that's why my labs go off to the other side of the building where we run whatever of the 10,000 labs we want to do. So you're constricted by the exact model that you're trying to force them to do not what they do. So it'd be like getting upset if you went into a lamp store and then you wanted to buy a mattress and got mad that they want to sell you a lamp. Well, you were in the lamp store. If you wanted a mattress, you should have gone where they sell mattresses. So silly example, but I hope that helps get the point across. All right, great. So what we're going to do for the final 15 minutes here is we're going to open it up so the chat is open. And then if you do want to ask a question, if you're willing to share it with the group, I will turn on your microphone and you can ask any questions about what we covered here. If there was something you wanted a little bit more details about, specifics, etc., and or if there's something you want to know specifically about your own health situation that we can kind of cover and possibly benefit the whole group as to the answers and the solutions. So if you want, you can put your question in the chat. We can do it that way. And then, yeah, okay, the book. So Prime delivery will take 7 to 9 days to get it to me. First of all, yeah, sorry about that. And have you noticed Prime is getting longer and longer? So I don't know what's going on with our postal system and FedEx and all of that, but I've noticed all my packages are taking longer. If you want, if it's easier and faster for you, you're welcome to come in and buy a copy from me, or if you're a patient, go find yours. So yeah, we can do it either way. But sorry, yeah, Prime's a little bit of a stinker these days, so nothing stays the same. Okay, good. Someone else ordered the book, so yay. So Danielle, woohoo. So what it says, yeah, so good. Excellent, excellent. So if you have any questions, put it in the chat, and or what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the microphone setting here. So you're allowed to say whatever you'd like. So you all have your microphone now. Does anyone want to say hello or have anything to say or ask? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, good. The other thing too is if you have anything you want to make sure that I talk about, you can throw that in the chat for next time. Is like if you want to go into specifics, whether it's a disease, a diagnosis, a symptom, a lab test, a lab level, anything you want to know more about. We want to make sure in this master class, that's why I'm calling it a master class, is it's going to be above and beyond just kind of the simple basics that we might have covered with you early on in your program as a patient. And for those of you who are not a patient, going above and beyond what you have access to online. We really want to get you the specifics and the details of what's best for you and what we can do for you. So let me just take a look and see in the chat here. Good, we have a few things. Good, so let's talk about this. So whether it applies to the class or not, we're going to revisit these questions. So some of them I'll quickly answer. So what do I think about Ozempic? No, I don't do Ozempic. Remember, it's a drug and it's forcing your actual central nervous system to stop doing its job. So just like every other weight loss pill that I've been doing this for 30 years now, they come and they go. There will be, what is it, Morgan in Florida? You will see Morgan and Morgan billboards somewhere between 3 to 5 years from now. Harm by Ozempic, it's absolutely coming. It's just the latest, again, fad. It's nothing new. It's nothing different. It's manipulating your brain and nervous system to do something it's not supposed to be doing. So talk about locking the kids in the room. That's like putting up a gate and a bolt and a dungeon and a dragon. That's the magnitude of what not addressing and confronting the real problem. So definitely not a proponent of the Ozempic. Um, let's see. Yes, I trust that you are an excellent researcher. I am an excellent researcher, so I'm not sure I actually should be a doctor. So I love doing research. I actually didn't practice or had a hobby practice, if you want to call it that, for 12 years. So because I worked for a nutritional company and I taught what I do for a living across the country, and a huge part of my job was research and development. So yes, I've been a researcher for probably 3 decades now, at least. So yes, because again, in keeping with the root causes, I want to make sure that whatever that might be, I know enough and understand enough about body anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry to really be able to promise you whatever end goal that you're going for. So yes, it's a passion of mine. I don't really watch TV. I don't do fiction novels. I just can't get into it. If you see me at night on my phone, most people think I'm playing, Candy Crush or watching TikTok videos. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm on there reading nerdy articles. So if you want to know the websites that I use for where I get my information, it's called a scholarly article or a white paper. They're usually about 37 pages long, and the print's about like that big on your phone. And I'm sitting there scrolling, reading, what do parasites have to do with estrogen production, and how does melatonin really affect, your liver? And so I'm always doing nerdy scientific stuff. So great question. I'm always doing that. Okay, good. Let's see. So show newcomers in the picture you have in your office about what we think success looks like. Yes. So Stella, yes. So what we're doing, that's part of this as well, is it's also quality control. So anything that you feel we could be doing better as a patient, we're always open to that. Whether it's what we can do with you personally, or should we have a success story book? We were also, success story of the month. We want to make sure that, you know enough about your own success and goal, and we take enough time to name that out for what you're trying to achieve, and then also give you the encouragement of what we've already known and done for others. So yes, Stella, I know if you want to send me an email, you can give me some details. So yes, anything that would make your journey or experience with us better, we're totally open to that. So thank you for that. Let's see here. Let's see. Good. So some of it has to do, it's called somatic experience. So where there's meditation and you treat trauma. So everything I specifically do is in the physical healing arts. I am not saying there's not a mental component nor a spiritual component, but I am not the expert in those. So if you want to have that done, I encourage you. I just need to know in a very positive way that you're doing and what you're doing. But what we try and do is address the physical healing. Now, interestingly enough, every single mental and emotional problem has a physical component to it. So a lot of times what you might believe is an actual emotional or mental or trauma is actually something as simple sometimes as a B vitamin deficiency. So one of the most famous examples I ever had is a literally very unfortunate, not a good story, but an impactful story, is that I had a woman who was suicidal and had tried several times to commit suicide, and her family brought her to me, and we worked with her, and we cleaned up her diet. We put her on a nutritional protocol, and finally, when we got everything handled, she was off all the psychotropic drugs. She was back to her normal self. She basically came to me and she's like, the only reason I didn't attempt it nor actually achieve it this time is due to the nutritional protocol that you had me on. So there's just one example of making sure, getting at the root cause and making sure that there isn't something holding it in place. So I've personally noticed that a lot of emotional trauma is the trigger and not the cause, and that what's going wrong in the body is the glue that holds the emotional component there, because you have things such as melatonin, dopamine, and serotonin, and if you had those in adequate levels, you couldn't actually be upset or get triggered or get emotional, because those things are designed to keep you happy. So if you were happy, how could you be sad? So whole other thing we can talk about, but I advocate it. You can do what you want. I stay in the physical healing art. So great question. Okay, good. Let's see here. So then airport syndrome, is that what that is? Whoever put, Michelle, tell me airport. I mean, like literally AIR. If you can respond again or what. So if you could put that in quickly, I'd love to know what that is. Let's see here. Good. Let me see if there's anything else. So good. All right. So I don't know if Michelle is with us anymore, but I'm not sure what that is. So, okay, good. And it's Al. Oh, okay, good. All right. So good. So kidneys. All right. So here's the thing. Everybody asks if I treat blank. So the answer is I don't treat anything. I get at the root cause with your calculus algorithm of why your body created this disease or this syndrome or this diagnosis in the first place. So the answer is yes. So what we need to do is find out what's wrong with the kidneys. So why are the kidney cells dying and why are they damaged and what created the damage? And then once you alleviate that, then the kidney disease goes away, the syndrome goes away, and the diagnosis goes away. So remember, you're in alternative medicine, you're in holistic and functional medicine. So you can make up a disease. I can treat any disease. I don't treat because that's not where the root cause of the situation comes from. You have to realize that all diseases and diagnoses, therefore, come from the body trying to tell you it's having a problem. And the thing is literally with a body being the equivalent of like a dog whisperer, I try to be the body whisperer. And this sounds silly, but I kind of treat all of the individual organs like they're people. And I don't literally talk to them, but it's like, okay, so hey, thyroid, looks like you're having some problems. What's going on? And the thyroid's like, oh man, she's spraying all this fake perfume right here and it's going in and soaking us up. It's nasty. Can you please tell her to stop using that perfume? Or man, she's drinking so much chlorinated water and it just drips down. And every day, 8, 9, 10 glasses of chlorinated water just coming down, torturing us. And then she's diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And I was like, do you treat Hashimoto's? And I'm like, no, I get at the root cause of why you got the diagnosis of Hashimoto's. So first, we stop having you drink the chlorinated water. We stop having you spray that poisonous perfume right on your poor little thyroid. We find out what nutritional deficiencies, maybe it's calcium, maybe it's magnesium. We find out that you're causing the inflammation to that poor thyroid by eating too much sugar. So we get the sugar out of your diet. We put you on the nutritional protocol. We stop having you do the bad things. And then literally 6 months, 9 months, a year later, you go back. Labs are totally normal. They can't diagnose you with a Hashimoto's anymore. So remember, root causes. We're not doing a medical approach here. So I don't treat anything. But if we can find out why the damage occurred in the first place, if we can do that, we can handle any health situation. So that's what's so wonderful about functional medicine and dealing with the root causes is there technically should not be anything you couldn't handle. The only catch to that is if you get to me, quote, too late. So a lot of times when you're talking about stage 3, stage 4 diseases, cancer, etc., when there's so much damage, the amount of time it would take me to get you well, unfortunately, you'll probably pass before I have an opportunity to fix you. So that's where I am totally for the medical model and more aggressive procedures than what I do in the practice, is that when time is of the essence, we definitely need to do something about it. But one of the things you'll learn as a patient of mine is that your wellness journey that we're talking about here today to prevent all of this literally should have started on the day you were born. So not to be mean, but you're like 40 years late for this masterclass. And again, going back to what you didn't know or mom didn't tell you or grandma didn't teach you, again, no blame, shame, or regret. But all I'm saying, and keeping with the famous quote, is the best time to start your wellness journey would have been on the day you were born, and the next best time is today. So hope that helps and clarifies kind of the approach and what we're doing. So thank you so much for being with me here this evening. We're going to wrap it up. If anybody has anything else, you're welcome to put that in the chat. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again next week. Everybody who's celebrating the Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. So hugs and kisses from you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you next week at 6 o'clock. Good night, ladies.